As we mentioned earlier, Attorney General Merrick Garland faced questions on Capitol Hill today. Among them, questions about an investigation involving the president's son, Hunter Biden.
I'd like for you to tell me or answer this question, if you would. Would you think it would be appropriate for the President of the United States to call you into the Oval Office and tell you that his son didn't break the law regarding this matter?
Absolutely not, and the President has not done that, and the President is committed not to interfere not only in that investigation, but any other kind of
Well, I agree with you, but
investigation.
Meanwhile, Republicans are also asking more questions after a New York Post article claimed Hunter Biden's business associate visited the White House nearly 20 times while Joe Biden was serving as vice president. Now, President Biden has said he never spoke with his son about his foreign business dealings. CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge is with me now. Catherine, great to see you. What we saw in today's hearing is a preview of what's to come if the GOP wins control of one or either chamber of Congress, right?
Well, that's right, Ed. In private discussions with CBS News, House Republicans have said if they take back the House and control of these committees, they want to launch a handful of investigations. And what they shared with us is the origins of COVID-19 with a specific focus on U.S. research dollars and what they were used for at the lab in Wuhan. The second, immigration on the southern border. And then third, Hunter Biden's business dealing and whether there are national security implications and whether any laws were broken. Separately, we know through our reporting at the investigative unit that the U.S. attorney in Delaware is considering possible tax fraud violations as well as money laundering and violations of something called FARA, which is the Foreign Agents Registration Act that requires American citizens to register with the Department of Justice when they are acting on the behalf of a foreign government.
Yeah, you and I have talked about how that's a tricky law, and others have gotten caught up in that before. You also, in the investigative unit, have confirmed that as part of that ongoing investigation, prosecutors have sought paternity records from Hunter Biden. What would they tell investigators in regards to their ongoing investigation?
Well, Ed, the seeking of these paternity records by the U.S. attorney in Delaware is an interesting development because when you look at the subpoena, as we have here at CBS News, what you see is that it's also seeking income and payroll tax records. And that raises the possibility that the U.S. attorney is not only looking at whether Hunter Biden appropriately paid his taxes, but whether he did so also for his employees. And if you just want to circle back to the fact it's in the paternity case, remember London Roberts for a period of time was one of his employees, Ed.
Yeah, that's right. And that definitely complicates things for him, and it must explain some of the complexity surrounding this case. Now, the president, as we said in the beginning, has repeatedly said he didn't have any conversations with his son about his business dealings. But what even today's hearing with Attorney General Garland signals is Republicans don't necessarily believe him. They want more details, and they're also trying to get a sense of, it seems, whether anyone around the president has misused their office or been asked to do things outside the official government realm to defend either the president's son or the Biden family, right?
Well, what we know through our reporting is that the U.S. attorney in Delaware, Ed, has sought records, financial records that go back as far as 2014. And the reason that matters is because at that time, Joe Biden was holding the vice presidency and working within the White House. And that specific subpoena sought records from a major banking institution, not only for Hunter Biden, his brother James Biden, two of their business associates, and at least 15 entities, including the Bank of China. So you can see the scope goes far beyond, I'll say, sort of the recent history, but does go back to 2014. And the question being whether any laws were violated or tax laws violated specifically during a period when his father was in the executive branch.
Yeah. And I think what you saw in Senator Harlan's questions there to the Attorney General today is not only is that investigation continuing, but it seems Republicans are trying to lay the groundwork for other questions about what did the Justice Department writ large know about this investigation? What did the Attorney General know? Which in some ways is sort of laying the groundwork in the event that, say, that investigation concludes and no charges are filed. Republicans may still go looking for something else.
They're trying to look for sort of two tracks, basically, right? They've got the Justice Department track with the U.S. Attorney, and the Republicans are trying to lay a second sort of legislative track, if you will, if the U.S. Attorney's investigation comes to no charges.
Exactly. Now, while we have you, another story I know you've been tracking. The two men who posed as federal agents were back in court today. They're guys here in D.C. They allegedly gave rent-free apartments and other gifts to Secret Service members and a Department of Homeland Security employee. Do we know anything more about their intent or where that money came from?
Well, what happened in court today is Aryan Taherzadeh and Haider Ali pleaded not guilty to these two charges, a weapons charge and then also the allegation that they posed as federal officers. But what came to light during the hearing is that the government's been able to get 79 digital devices and 80, I believe it's terabytes of data. So they've got a lot of electronic evidence, and they've asked the court to put that under a protective order so it's not going to necessarily be available for public review. And the lingering questions remain: what was the motive of these two men? Where did the money come from? And is there any national security intersection with a foreign intelligence service? Was their effort really part of a broad effort to obtain intelligence about the workings of the Secret Service for the benefit, possibly, of one of our adversaries?
Yeah, it's an incredible story, and as the old adage says, we'll just keep following the money to see where it goes.
We will. Okay.
Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herod, as always, thank you so much.
You're welcome.